Hello folks, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about the dreaded, the worst, piercing bumps. Piercing bumps is really just any irritation bump or any irritation and issue that forms on a healing body piercing. These are not keloids, these are just various forms of irritation, and they come in all different shapes and sizes. I'm going to throw some pictures up on the screen. These are all different examples of piercing bumps. Some of these are caused from bad placement, bad angles, bad quality jewelry, incorrect aftercare, and just general issues like the client getting sick or snagging their piercing really hard. All sorts of different things can be a cause for a piercing bump. But there is so much stress and so much anxiety that I see go on with clients when they get these bumps on their piercings and they panic, and the internet really does not help that, constantly telling us that piercing bumps might be a keloid. For reference, this is what an actual keloid looks like. It is not the same thing as a piercing bump. A keloid does need a doctor to deal with, and 99.9% of the time you don't have a keloid on your piercing. But irritation bumps are a really big cause of concern for a lot of people and a lot of clients, and I totally get it. No one wants our piercing to get a big uncomfortable bump while it's healing. But I'm here to tell you today, with this video, some piercings are gonna get bumps. And it is okay. It is okay. And whenever I talk about this, someone always goes, but Lynn, you're a professional piercer. How can you say that bumps on a piercing is okay? Like, that means it's not healing right. That means something's wrong. And the thing is, we do not exist in a bubble. We do not get a piercing and then, like, exist as perfect clients who never bump, snag, or catch it on anything, who never get sick, who don't have autoimmune conditions or skin conditions or disorders or medications that affect how our body heals. Like, we exist as very imperfect people and very imperfect clients and piercing caretakers. And all of that amounts to, sometimes piercings are going to get bumps. Some piercings are also just harder to heal and notorious for getting bumps on them. And none of this means that it is a bad thing or that you are somehow failing at taking care of your piercing. See, when it comes to piercing bumps, there's so many factors that can cause it to happen. A really big one just being life's little accidents and oopses, catching or snagging your piercing really hard, forgetting to clean it for a few days. So if you're someone who plays sports, is very physically active, has small children, has animals, you're probably going to catch and snag your piercing at some point on something or hit it, and it's probably going to get a little bump, and it's not going to be the end of the world. If you're someone who's always traveling for work, if you're still in school and you're dealing with finals or exams or big competitions, if you work in a high-stress workplace and you're coming up on big sales or big projects, holiday weekends, you might end up really overstressed or really overwhelmed. You might forget to clean your piercing for a while. You might get a bump. If you're someone like me who has psoriasis or any autoimmune condition or skin condition that affects how your body heals, especially if you have something like diabetes, if you've ever gotten treatment for cancer, if you're on certain medications, your immune system is not that good at healing a wound, and you're probably going to get a bump. I have gotten a bump on virtually every single piercing I have ever healed in my entire life, no matter how careful I have been caring for it. I have an autoimmune condition. It affects how my skin works and how my body heals. Of course, I'm going to get piercing bumps. And some piercings are just more prone to bumps than other piercings are. Things like high nostrils, very prone to irritation bumps and issues during the healing process. Cheek piercings, notorious for fluid-filled irritations and bumps during piercing and healing. Doff piercings so often deal with irritation and issues that a top piercer taught in a class on doff piercings this year at conference that most of your clients are going to deal with a bump on a doff at one point or another. Antitraguses, snugs, industrials, orbitals, anything that's more advanced or more difficult to heal, a lot of these are piercings that are prone to getting irritation bumps and having issues during the healing process. This is not to say that I want to normalize having a problematic healing process. Obviously, as a professional piercer, I do everything in my power to make sure that my clients have a smooth healing process with no bumps at all. But I think that we have gotten so hyper-focused on this perfect healing process that never has any bumps, never has any swelling, never has any redness, that we've kind of created a space where people feel like they're failing as clients if they have the tiniest little bit of irritation or the tiniest hard time healing. And that is just simply not the case. There are so many factors outside of our control that affect how we heal body piercings, and I think we need to normalize a little bit more value neutrality. Obviously, bumps aren't ideal, but they aren't always necessarily a bad or terrible thing. And someone who has a bump because they accidentally slept on it, or because they have a medical or health condition that affects how they heal, or because it's just a really hard piercing to heal, it should not be this like moral value judgment of like a bad client or bad healer or things like that. It should be one of those things where we're like, yeah, it's not great there's a bump on it, but we kind of knew this was probably going to happen because of these different factors, and now we're just going to deal with it now that it's cropped up and move along. I know when I was a client, I struggled with so much anxiety and so much like feeling like a failure when I would get bumps on my piercings, or feeling like I would do a bad job. And this would start a vicious cycle of me becoming so paranoid about the bump that when something like that cropped up, I would accidentally make it worse by over cleaning it, by constantly checking it in the mirror and like pulling on my piercing and messing with it to look at the bump. I would be so anxious about it healing up that I would pick at it and mess with it rather than give my body patience and care to heal it. Now, as a piercer, as someone with more education and knowledge, I get a bump on something and I go, well, we knew it was going to happen. We have psoriasis. We're just going to clean it and care for it extra the next couple of days and be patient with it and leave it alone. And in a couple of weeks, sometimes a couple of months, the bump goes away and it's fine. But it's a lot easier now that I don't panic every time a bump pops up, and now that I'm patient and I don't mess with it and I listen to my body and I understand. And I think if years ago when I was a client, there were more piercers who came out and said, hey, sometimes your piercing is going to get a bump on it and it's okay, I might not have felt the way I did then. But for so long, the rhetoric in the industry has been like, oh my God, we need to avoid bumps at all costs. And yes, that's ideally the goal, but that's not realistic for a lot of clients' lifestyles, bodies, medical conditions, or just some piercings. So I'd like to start having that conversation and being that person that says, I'm not excited that you have a bump on your piercing, but I don't want you to feel too bad about it because it's okay. It's normal. And if you work with a good piercer, you have someone who's going to help guide you through the process, you're going to be able to get that bump to go away. You're going to get that piercing to heal. Our bodies just aren't always the best at doing everything in one perfect linear straight line when it comes to healing, or literally anything. Our bodies kind of suck. I really hope if you're someone like me who really struggles feeling anxious or nervous about piercings healing and can get too in your own head if they do have a hiccup or a healing problem, this video helps kind of soothe some of those nerves, soothe some of those anxiety, and remind you that while it's not ideal to have these issues, it is also not abnormal and it's not necessarily a bad thing, and you aren't a bad client just because your piercing got a bump on it. If you are dealing with a bump or an irritation on your piercing, please reach back out to your piercer for troubleshooting and help. We can't help online, we can't help in the comments. A good piercer should really be taking a look at what's going on with your piercing, asking you a bunch of different questions about aftercare, lifestyle, and healing, and working with you to tailor a healing plan that works for your piercing, your body, and your life to heal up these irritations. And if you'd like to learn a little bit more about piercing bumps and what causes them, I do have a really great guide on my website that goes super in depth and will probably answer a lot of your questions, and I'm going to link that in the comments down below. I hope this video helped, and I hope everyone just has happy, smooth, easy healing with no bumps, ideally, but if you do get a bump, don't panic. You're going to be fine. We've got this. As per usual, if you like my videos, please hit like and subscribe. Your support means the world to me, and I can't wait to sit down and chat with you again soon. Bye!